Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the United Earth ship Horizon. The big viewing window showed stars moving past them like bright dots in the black space. His ship had been flying around the edge of known space for 3 months now. It was quiet work, but someone had to check these areas. The bridge was calm that morning. Only 5 crew members were working their stations. The soft hum of the engines filled the air. Everything seemed normal until Communications Officer Lisa Turner suddenly sat up straight in her chair. "Captain, I'm getting something weird on the emergency channels," Lisa said. Her hands moved quickly over her control panel. The screen in front of her showed strange patterns of light. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of weird?" "It's a distress signal, sir. But it's not from any human ship." Lisa frowned as she studied the readings. "The pattern is completely different from anything in our databases. The signal strength suggests it's coming from about 6 light-years away." First Officer Danny Cox left his chair and joined them. "Could it be a malfunction in our equipment?" Lisa shook her head. "I've run 3 diagnostics. Everything checks out. This is real, Captain. Someone out there is calling for help." Jake felt his heartbeat speed up. In all his years of space travel, he had never encountered alien life. None of the human colonies had either. Earth scientists had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they might have their answer. "Can you clean up the signal, make it easier to understand?" "I'm trying, sir." Lisa's fingers flew over the controls. "The signal is using frequencies we barely monitor. Whoever sent this doesn't know about human communication methods." The bridge fell silent except for the electronic beeping of the computers. After a few minutes, Lisa looked up with excitement in her eyes. "Got it. Playing the cleaned signal now." Strange sounds filled the bridge. It was clearly a voice, but the words were unlike anything they had ever heard. The sounds rose and fell in patterns that seemed almost musical. But underneath the strange language, everyone could hear something else. Fear, panic, desperation. "My way, God," whispered Science Officer Katie Brooks from her station. "That's someone asking for help." The alien voice continued for 30 seconds, then repeated the same message. Even without understanding the words, the crew could feel the urgency. "Where exactly is this coming from?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her instruments. "The Kepler system, Captain. About 6 light-years from our current position. We could be there in 4 hours at maximum warp speed." Danny stepped closer to Jake. "Sir, we should contact Earth Command first. This could be first contact with alien life. There are protocols." Jake nodded, but his mind was already made up. How long would it take to get instructions from Earth? "At least 8 hours for our message to reach them, plus time for them to decide. Plus 8 more hours for their response," Danny replied. "Probably a full day minimum." "Whoever sent that signal might not have a day," Jake said quietly. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. These were good people. He trusted them completely. Jake pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, this is the captain. We have received what appears to be an alien distress signal from the Kepler system. We are the only human ship in range to respond. I am making the decision to investigate immediately. This could be dangerous, and it's definitely going to change everything we thought we knew about the universe. If anyone has objections, speak now." The bridge remained quiet. Jake waited 30 seconds, then looked at his crew. "Lisa, send our current status and destination to Earth Command. Include the alien signal. Danny, have all departments prepare for possible first contact situations. Katie, I want everything we know about the Kepler system on my screen in 10 minutes. "And the course, Captain?" asked pilot Ryan Wells from the front of the bridge. Jake took a deep breath. "Set course for Kepler system, maximum warp. Someone's in trouble, and we're going to help." The horizon turned toward its new destination. The stars shifted in the view screen as the ship changed direction. Within minutes, the space around them stretched and twisted as they entered warp speed. Jake sat in his captain's chair and thought about what they were doing. Earth had rules about first contact with alien species. They were supposed to observe, from a distance first. They should gather information and wait for instructions from the government. But someone was dying out there, Jake could hear it in that alien voice. "Captain," Katie said from her science station, "I have the information about Kepler system. It has 7 planets, 2 of which are in the zone where life could exist. The system is about 4 billion years old. Our long-range sensors have never detected any signs of civilization there. Apparently our long-range sensors aren't good enough," Jake replied. Lisa looked up from her communications panel. "Sir, I'm still receiving the distress signal. It's getting stronger as we get closer. Whoever is sending it, they're still alive." Danny moved to stand beside Jake's chair. "Captain, I have to ask, what if this is a trap? What if whoever sent that signal is trying to lure human ships into danger?" Jake considered this. It was possible. But the fear in that alien voice had sounded real, and there was something else, something that made Jake certain he was making the right choice. "Danny, what if it was us out there? What if a human ship was dying in space sending out distress calls? Wouldn't we want whoever received our message to come help, even if they didn't know us?" Danny nodded slowly. "Yes, sir, we would." "Then that's what we do. We treat others the way we'd want to be treated." The next 3 hours passed slowly. The crew prepared for whatever they might find. Medical Officer Ben Torres got the sick bay, ready for possible alien patients. Security Chief Amy Clark made sure the weapons were ready, but set to non-lethal settings. Everyone tried to imagine what they might encounter. Jake spent the time studying everything Earth knew about possible alien life. The scientists had many theories, but no facts. Humans might be meeting beings so different that communication would be impossible, or they might find creatures that looked almost human. Nobody knew. "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler system," Ryan announced, "dropping out of warp in 30 seconds. All stations report status," Jake ordered. "Communications ready, sir. Medical bay prepared for anything. Security team standing by. Science sensors at maximum sensitivity." Jake gripped the arms of his chair as the stars stopped stretching and returned to normal points of light. The Kepler system spread out before them, a yellow star like Earth's sun, surrounded by several planets. "Lisa, are you still receiving the distress signal?" "Yes, Captain, much stronger now. It's coming from the inner system near the 3rd planet." "Take us in, Ryan. Careful and slow." As the horizon moved deeper into the alien system, everyone on the bridge stared at the view screen. They were about to make history. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. But first, they had to save whoever was calling for help. The horizon moved slowly through the Kepler system toward the source of the distress signal. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the main screen. The 3rd planet grew larger as they approached. It was blue and green like Earth, with white clouds swirling around it. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships near the planet," Science Officer Katie Brooks reported. Her voice was tense. 3 smaller vessels and 1 very large one. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The image changed to show 4 ships in space above the alien planet. 3 of the ships were beautiful and sleek. They looked almost alive, with smooth curves and flowing lines. Their hulls seemed to shimmer with different colors as they moved. But the 4th ship was completely different. It was huge, angular, and dark. Sharp edges jutted out from its black hull like weapons. It was at least 5 times larger than the horizon. "The big ship is firing on the smaller ones," Katie said. Her voice filled with alarm. Jake watched in horror as bright beams of energy shot from the large ship toward the smaller vessels. The pretty ships had glowing shields around them, but the shields flickered and grew weaker with each hit. "Red alert," Jake commanded. Alarm bells began ringing throughout the ship. "All hands to battle stations. Lisa, try to contact both groups of ships." Communications Officer Lisa Turner worked frantically at her station. "I'm trying, Captain, but there's a lot of interference from the weapons fire." Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Wells studied his instruments. "Captain, that big ship has more firepower than our entire battle group back home. Its weapons are unlike anything in our databases." "What about the smaller ships?" "They appear to be civilian vessels, sir. Minimal weapons, mostly scientific equipment. They're not built for fighting." Jake watched as one of the beautiful ships took a direct hit. Its shields collapsed completely and pieces of its hull flew away into space. "Got something," Lisa announced. "I'm receiving a transmission from one of the smaller ships." "Put it through." The bridge filled with a voice that sounded like music. The words were still alien, but the universal translator was starting to work. Slowly, the musical sounds became understandable speech. "Unknown vessel, please retreat to safety. We are the Cathari research expedition. Our ship, the Gentle Current, cannot escape the Vortak raiders. We do not wish your destruction on our conscience." Jake felt amazed. These aliens were warning them away. They were more concerned about the human safety than their own survival. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Horizon," he replied. "We received your distress call. We're here to help." A long pause followed. Jake could almost feel the confusion from the alien ship. "Help?" The musical voice finally responded. "You would risk your lives for beings you do not know? This is not the way of the galaxy." Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. They were all nodding, ready to fight for these strangers. "Maybe not," Jake said, "but it's the human way. Ryan, target the big ship's weapons. Let's even the odds." The Horizon charged forward toward the battle. The large enemy ship, which the aliens had called a Vortak raider, immediately turned its attention to the new arrival. "Incoming fire," Ryan announced. The ship shook as energy beams struck their shields. Jake held onto his chair as the lights flickered. "Shields down to 80%, reported Security Chief Amy Clark. "Return fire," Jake ordered. The Horizon's weapons lanced out toward the Vortak ship. Their missiles struck the enemy's weapon ports, causing explosions along its dark hull. "Direct hits, Captain. We've damaged their main guns." The Vortak ship was much larger than the Horizon, but it had been built to attack weak civilian ships, not to fight a military vessel. The human ship was smaller but faster, and better armed for real combat. Jake watched the tactical display as his ship dodged around the huge enemy vessel, striking at its weapons and engines. The Vortak ship tried to turn to follow them, but it was too slow. "Their shield generators are on the port side," Katie called out, studying her sensor readings. "Ryan, concentrate fire on that area." The Horizon's weapons focused on the enemy's shields. After several hits, the protective barrier around the Vortak ship flickered and died. "Shields down. Target is vulnerable." Jake had a choice. He could destroy the enemy ship completely, but that would mean killing everyone aboard, and he didn't know if they deserved to die. Target their engines and life support systems. Disable them, don't destroy them. "Sir, you heard me. We're here to stop them from hurting others, not to commit murder." The Horizon's precise shots hit the Vortak ship's engines. The massive vessel shuddered and began drifting in space, powerless. A new voice came over the communication system. This one was harsh and angry, completely different from the musical tones of the Cathari. "Human ship, you have interfered with Vortak business. This will be remembered." "I hope so," Jake replied. "Maybe next time you'll think twice before attacking innocent people." The Vortak ship limped away using its backup engines. It was badly damaged but still able to move. Jake let them go. He had accomplished what he came to do. "Captain, the Cathari." "Ships are hailing us," Lisa announced. "Put them through." The musical voice returned, but now it sounded filled with wonder and gratitude. "Captain Morrison, we do not understand what has happened here. You risked your ship and crew to save strangers. In all our years of space travel, we have never encountered such behavior. We are deeply grateful. We're just glad we could help. Do you need medical assistance? Our doctor is standing by. Several of our people are injured, but we must ask, why did you not destroy the Vortak ship when you had the chance? They are pirates and killers." Jake thought about how to explain. "We believe that killing should be the last choice, not the first one. We stopped them from hurting you. That was enough." Another long pause followed this statement. "Captain Morrison, we would very much like to meet you and your people face to face. Would you be willing to allow some of our delegation to come aboard your ship? We have much to learn about humans." Jake looked at his crew. They all nodded eagerly. This was the Moment they had dreamed about since childhood. First contact with intelligent alien life. We would be honored to meet you. Our medical bay is ready to treat your injured people. We are sending over a small shuttle now. Thank you, Captain Morrison. You have done something today that will change how we see the universe. Jake settled back in his captain's chair as he watched the alien shuttle approach. It was as beautiful as their larger ships, glowing softly with its own inner light. Sir, Danny said quietly, do you realize what we've done? We just made first contact with alien species. 2 different species, actually. I know, Jake replied. But more importantly, we helped people who needed help. That's what matters. As the alien shuttle docked with their ship, Jake wondered what Earth would think when they learned that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. He also wondered what these aliens would think when they learned more about humans and their strange willingness to help others. One thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The alien shuttle docked with the horizon with a soft thud that echoed through the ship. Captain Jake Morrison walked to the docking bay with his senior officers. His heart was beating fast. In a few minutes, he would meet the first aliens that humans had ever encountered. The airlock door opened with a hiss. 3 beings stepped through, and Jake tried not to stare. The Cathari were tall and graceful, about 7 feet high. Their skin seemed to change colors like oil on water, shifting from blue to green to silver as they moved. They had large eyes that took up much of their faces, and their limbs were longer and thinner than human arms and legs. The one in front wore robes that seemed to be made of light itself. She stepped forward and spoke in that musical voice they had heard on the radio. I am Elder Scientist Veltar of the research vessel Gentle Current. On behalf of all Cathari, I thank you for saving our lives. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. This is my crew. We're honored to meet you. Dr. Amy Clark, the ship's doctor, stepped forward. We have injured people ready to help your injured people. Veltar's large eyes seemed to grow even larger. You would treat our wounded as if they were your own people? Of course, Amy replied, looking confused. That's what doctors do. The 3 aliens looked at each other and spoke in their own language. Their conversation sounded like singing birds. Finally, Veltar turned back to the humans. This is most unusual, but yes, we have 3 crew members who need medical attention. Amy led 2 of the aliens toward the medical bay. Jake took Veltar to the conference room along with his senior officers. As they walked through the ship's corridors, Veltar kept looking around with obvious amazement. Your ship is built for war, she observed. It's built for exploration, Jake corrected. But we do carry weapons for protection. And you use those weapons to protect others, not just yourselves. When necessary, yes. In the conference room, Veltar sat carefully in one of the chairs, her long limbs folded in ways that looked impossible to the humans. Captain Morrison, I must understand something. Why did you answer our distress call? We are strangers to you. Our species had never met before today. By helping us, you risked your ship and the lives of your crew. This makes no sense to us. First Officer Danny Cox leaned forward. What do you mean it makes no sense? You were in trouble. We helped. That's normal. Veltar's skin color shifted rapidly, which the humans were beginning to understand meant she was excited or upset. Normal? Captain Morrison, in 3,000 years of space travel, the Cathari have never encountered a species that would risk itself for complete strangers. This behavior is unknown in the galaxy. Science Officer Katie Brooks asked, what do other species do when they receive distress calls? If the call comes from their own kind, they might respond. If it comes from allies or trading partners, they might help if the risk is small. If it comes from unknowns, Veltar paused. They ignore it or report it to authorities. The human officers looked at each other with surprise. But what if people are dying? Jake asked. That is unfortunate, but not their responsibility. Captain Morrison, you must understand that survival is the most important thing in the galaxy. Species that take unnecessary risks do not survive long. Communications Officer Lisa Turner shook her head. That's horrible. How can anyone just let people die when they could help? Veltar studied Lisa's face carefully. You are genuinely upset by this concept. This is fascinating. She turned to Jake. Captain, I must ask you a difficult question. What kind of world did humans evolve on? Earth. It's a planet with oceans and continents, similar to yours from what our sensors show. No, I mean, what kind of environment shaped your species? Was your world peaceful? Katie answered this time. Not really. Earth has dangerous weather, earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, lots of predators that could kill early humans. Our ancestors had to be tough to survive. Veltar's skin went completely white, which seemed to be a sign of shock. You are from what we call a death world. A what? A death world. A planet so dangerous that its inhabitants must become fierce just to live. Most such worlds never develop intelligent life. Those that do usually produce species that become conquerors and destroyers. The room fell silent as the humans processed this information. Are you saying other species see us as dangerous? Danny asked. Captain Morrison, when word of today's events reaches the Galactic Cooperative, they will classify humanity as a death world species. This will change everything. Jake felt a cold fear in his stomach. What does that mean for us? Veltar's colors shifted to darker shades. There are protocols for dealing with death world species. Usually, they are contained to their home systems until they either destroy themselves or prove they are not a threat to galactic civilization. Contained? Like prisoners? For the safety of all peaceful species, yes. Security Chief Amy Clark had returned from helping with the medical work. She caught the last part of the conversation. Wait a minute. You're saying that because we helped? You, the galaxy, is going to treat us like criminals? Veltar looked sad. I am afraid so. The Galactic Cooperative has never encountered a death world species that shows compassion to strangers. They will not know how to classify you. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside he could see the stars and the beautiful Cathari ships floating nearby. What if we hadn't helped you today? What if we had just ignored your distress call? Then you would have remained unknown to us. Your species could have developed in isolation until you were ready for peaceful contact. But you would be dead. Yes. But that would not have been your responsibility. Jake turned back to face Veltar. That's where you're wrong. When someone needs help and we can provide it, it becomes our responsibility. That's what makes us human. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. Her skin colors shifted through the entire spectrum. Captain Morrison, I have spent my entire life studying different species and their behaviors. I have never encountered anything like what you describe. Your people risk everything for strangers. You feel responsible for the suffering of others. You choose to help even when it might hurt you. Doesn't every intelligent species do that? No, Captain, only humans, apparently. Dr. Amy returned to the conference room with good news about the injured aliens. But her smile faded when she saw the serious expressions on everyone's faces. What did I miss? Danny explained the situation. Amy's face grew angry. So because we're decent people, the galaxy wants to lock us away? It is not personal, Veltar said gently. It is simply that no one knows what to do with a species like yours. You have the strength to be conquerors but the hearts of protectors. This combination has never been seen before. Jake sat back down. What happens now? I will report truthfully about what happened here today. I will tell the cooperative that humans risked their lives to save strangers, that they showed mercy to their enemies, and that they treat alien wounded as if they were their own people. Whether this helps or hurts your cause, I do not know. And us? You should prepare for visitors, Captain Morrison. Important visitors who will want to understand what kind of Deathworlders choose to save instead of conquer. Jake looked around the table at his crew. They had answered one distress call and accidentally challenged everything the galaxy believed about survival and civilization. He wondered if they had doomed humanity or given them the greatest opportunity in their history. Outside the window, the stars looked the same as always. But Jake knew that nothing would ever be the same again. 3 days after the rescue, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his ready room staring at a message from Earth Command. The communication had taken 6 hours to reach them, and the news was not good. Admiral Helen Gray's face filled the screen. her expression serious and worried. "Jake, your report about first contact has caused chaos here on Earth. Every government is demanding answers. More importantly, we've detected alien ships approaching our outer colonies. 3 different vessels from species we've never seen before." Jake paused the message and rubbed his tired eyes. He had not slept well since learning about humanity's classification as a Deathworld species. The weight of potentially dooming his entire race sat heavily on his shoulders. He pressed play to continue the message. "The alien ships are not acting hostile, but they're definitely studying us. Our xenology team believes they're trying to understand what kind of Deathworlders we are. Jake, you opened a door we can't close. Every decision we make now will affect the future of our species." The message ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. Through his window, he could see the Cathari research ship still floating nearby. Elder scientist Veltar had remained aboard the Horizon as a cultural advisor, helping both species understand each other. A chime at his door interrupted his brooding. "Come in." Veltar entered, her tall form moving gracefully through the human-sized doorway. Her skin was showing calm blue and green colors today. "Captain Morrison, I have received communications from my government. The news about your species has reached the highest levels of the Galactic Cooperative." Jake gestured for her to sit. "What's their reaction?" "Mixed, I am afraid. There are 2 main groups forming in the discussions. One side sees humans as a potential threat that must be contained quickly. They argue that no Deathworld species can be trusted regardless of current behavior. And the other side?" Veltar's colors shifted to brighter shades. "They are fascinated. They want to study humans more closely. They believe your species might represent something new in galactic evolution." "Study us like laboratory animals?" "Not exactly. More like trying to understand how a Deathworld could produce beings capable of compassion for strangers. This has never happened before in recorded galactic history." Communications Officer Lisa Turner's voice came through the ship's intercom system. "Captain, we're receiving multiple transmissions from different alien sources. You need to get to the bridge." Jake and Veltar hurried to the bridge. The main screen showed a display of local space that made Jake's heart sink. 7 different alien ships had arrived in the system overnight. Each one was completely different in design, representing different species. "Report," Jake ordered, as he took his captain's chair. Lisa looked up from her communications station with excitement and worry mixed on her face. "Sir, we're getting messages in at least 4 different languages. The universal translator is working overtime trying to keep up." "What are they saying?" "Most of them want to talk to us. They're curious about the compassionate Deathworlders who saved the Cathari research expedition. But Captain, one of the messages sounds more like a warning." "Put it through." The bridge filled with a deep, rumbling voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. "Human vessel, this is Battle Commander Zorth of the Hegemony Warfleet. You will prepare to be boarded and inspected. Your species has been flagged as a potential threat to galactic stability." Jake looked at Veltar. "Hegemony. The military arm of the Galactic Cooperative. They handle security threats." Her skin had gone pale with worry. Another voice interrupted, this one higher-pitched and musical like the Cathari, but different. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Horizon. We are the peaceful scholars of Andara. We have traveled far to meet the species that risks itself for strangers. We request peaceful dialogue." A third voice joined the conversation, sounding mechanical and emotionless. "Human Captain Morrison, we are the collective intelligence of the Silicon Worlds. Your behavior patterns do not match any known profiles for Deathworld species. We require additional data." More voices added to the chaos. Jake held up his hand for silence and turned to Lisa. "Can you organize this? One at a time?" "I'm trying, sir, but they all want to talk now." Science Officer Katie Brooks looked up from her station with concern. "Captain, I'm reading weapons signatures from several of these ships. Not all of them are here for peaceful research." Veltar stood up from her chair. "Captain Morrison, may I suggest something? In Galactic Cooperative Protocol, when multiple species gather like this, there should be a formal first contact conference. It would allow all parties to speak and be heard properly. How does that work? Each species sends representatives to a neutral location, usually the ship that called for the meeting. In this case, that would be yours. Jake considered this. Having 7 different alien species aboard his ship seemed dangerous, but maybe it was better than having 7 different alien ships deciding humanity's fate without human input. All alien vessels, this is Captain Morrison. We propose a formal first contact conference aboard the Horizon. Each species may send up to 3 representatives. We will provide neutral meeting space and refreshments. The response was immediate chaos as all 7 alien voices tried to respond at once. Lisa spent 20 minutes sorting out the replies. In the end, 6 of the 7 species agreed to the conference. Only the hegemony refused. Battle Commander. Zorth says his species does not negotiate with unclassified Deathworlders, Lisa reported. Then they can wait outside while the adults talk, Jake replied, earning surprised looks from his crew. They had never heard their captain sound so sarcastic. Over the next few hours, shuttle after shuttle docked with the Horizon. Jake had never imagined he would see so many different forms of intelligent life in one day. The peaceful scholars of Andara looked like giant butterflies with 6 arms and voices that sounded like singing. The Silicon World's representatives were actually robots controlled by artificial intelligence minds. The Traders Guild sent beings that looked like walking trees with dozens of small eyes along their branches. The most surprising visitors were from a species called the Protector Caste. They looked similar to humans but with gray skin and no hair anywhere on their bodies. Their leader, named Guardian Prime Jorak, spoke perfect English. We learned your language from monitoring your communications, Jorak explained. We are very interested in meeting fellow protectors. Fellow protectors? Our species also evolved on a dangerous world. But unlike other Deathworld species, we chose to defend the weak instead of conquering them. We have been alone in this philosophy for centuries. Jake felt hope for the first time in days. You mean we're not the only ones? You are the only others we have found. This is why we traveled so far to meet you. The conference took place in the Horizon's main cargo bay, which had been hastily converted into a meeting room. Jake sat at a large table surrounded by the most diverse group of intelligent beings ever assembled in one place. Vel quote, Tar acted as the moderator, explaining galactic law and customs to the humans while translating human concepts for the other species. The discussion quickly focused on one main question. What should the galaxy do with a Deathworld species that helped strangers instead of conquering them? The Silicon World's representative, a tall robot with glowing blue eyes, stated the problem clearly. All previous models predict that Deathworld species become aggressive expansionists. Humans do not fit this pattern. Our databases require updating. The Traders Guild leader, a tree-like being named Rootweaver Sem, was more practical. If humans help others without expecting payment, they will disrupt the entire galactic economy. Who will trade for services that humans provide for free? But Guardian Prime Jorak had a different perspective. Perhaps the question is not what to do with humans, but what humans can teach the rest of us. For too long, the galaxy has operated on fear and self-interest. Maybe it is time for something better. The debate continued for hours. Outside, the hegemony warship waited with its weapons powered up, ready to enforce whatever decision was made. Jake realized that the next few hours would determine not just humanity's future, but possibly the future of the entire galaxy. The first contact conference had been going on for 6 hours when everything changed. Captain Jake Morrison was getting tired of listening to the same arguments over and over. Some aliens thought humans were dangerous. Others thought they were fascinating. Nobody could agree on what to do. Then Communications Officer Lisa Turner's voice crackled through the intercom system with urgent news. Captain, we have a massive fleet approaching the system. I count at least 30 ships of different designs. They're being led by a hegemony dreadnought that's 10 times bigger than anything we've seen. The conference room fell silent. All the alien representatives looked worried. Even the robot from the Silicon Worlds, whose face couldn't show emotion. Elder Scientist Veltar's skin turned pale white. That will be the Grand Fleet, The Galactic Cooperative has made their decision. What decision? Jake asked. Though he was afraid he already knew the answer. Guardian Prime Jorak from the Protector caste stood up from the table. His gray skin looked even more serious than usual. Captain Morrison, I believe we are about to witness either humanity's acceptance into galactic civilization or your species' containment to Earth forever. The cargo bay doors opened and First Officer Danny Cox rushed in. Captain, you need to see this. The lead ship is requesting immediate communication with all parties present. Jake and the alien representatives hurried to the bridge. The main screen showed the approaching fleet. The lead ship was enormous, like a floating city made of metal and weapons. It was easily 50 times larger than the horizon. Open a channel, Jake ordered. The screen changed to show a being that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird. It wore elaborate military decorations, and its eyes were cold and calculating. I am Supreme Commander Thexeral of the Hegemony. Grand Fleet. By order of the Galactic Cooperative Council, this system is now under martial law pending resolution of the human situation. Jake stepped forward. Commander, I am Captain Morrison. We are conducting peaceful diplomatic talks. Those talks are now concluded. The Cooperative Council has reached a decision regarding your species. Thexeral's voice was harsh and final. Humans of the death world called Earth, your actions have created an unprecedented situation. You possess the capabilities of conquerors, but demonstrate the behavior of protectors. This contradiction cannot be reconciled with current galactic law. The bridge was dead silent. Jake could feel the weight of his entire species' future pressing down on him. What exactly are you saying, Commander? The Council offers two choices. First, voluntary containment to your home system with monitored development over the next 1,000 years. You will be provided with resources but forbidden from traveling beyond your solar system. Jake's heart sank. 1,000 years of imprisonment for the crime of helping others. What's the second choice? Demonstrate conclusively that your species can coexist peacefully with galactic civilization. You will have 3 standard galactic years to establish peaceful relations with at least 5 different species while responding to no fewer than 10 separate interstellar emergencies. You must do this while maintaining your claimed philosophy of protection over conquest. And if we fail? Permanent containment. Your species will never be allowed to leave Earth. The terms were harsh, but Jake realized they were better than he had expected. At least humanity would have a chance to prove themselves. But before Jake could respond, Veltar stepped forward. Her colors were shifting rapidly through the entire spectrum. Supreme Commander Thexeral, I request permission to address the Grand Fleet and all Council members. Granted, Elder Scientist. You may speak. Veltar's voice carried clearly through the communication system, broadcasting not just to the ships present, but to the entire Galactic Cooperative Network. Honored members of the Cooperative, I have spent the past week among the humans of the vessel Horizon. I have observed their behavior closely. I have seen their medical officer treat wounded Cathari with the same care given to his own species. I have watched their scientists share knowledge freely without expecting anything in return. I have observed their warriors show mercy even to enemies who showed them none. She paused, and when she continued, her voice was filled with emotion. But most importantly, I have seen them risk everything for strangers. Not once, but repeatedly. They answered our distress call without hesitation. They fought a superior enemy to save people they had never met. They chose to disable rather than destroy, showing compassion even in battle. Jake watched as other voices began joining the communication channel. The captain of the Gentle Current testified about the humans' immediate response to their emergency. Other Cathari who had been treated in the Horizon's medical bay spoke about the kindness they had received. Then Guardian Prime Jorak requested permission to speak. Supreme Commander, my species has spent centuries searching for others who understand that strength should be used to protect, not to conquer. We have found only one other race with this philosophy: these humans. The robot representative from the Silicon worlds added its mechanical voice. Our analysis indicates that human behavior represents a new evolutionary path for Deathworld species. This data suggests that traditional containment protocols may be obsolete. Even some of the Traders Guild members spoke up, talking about how human generosity could actually improve galactic commerce by creating trust between species. But the most surprising voice came from an unexpected source. Battle Commander Zorth, who had been threatening to inspect the human ship, requested permission to speak. Supreme Commander, I have monitored human communications during this crisis. When faced with overwhelming odds, they did not call for reinforcements or retreat. They called for medical supplies to help wounded aliens. This is not the behavior of a typical Deathworld species. Jake listened in amazement, as one after another, alien voices spoke in humanity's defense. Species that had never agreed on anything before were united in their support for giving humans a chance. Finally, Kama Veltar spoke again, and her words would be remembered throughout galactic history. Honored cooperative, perhaps the question is not whether humans can coexist with us, but whether we have been too afraid to truly live. They have a word for this willingness to risk everything for strangers. They call it humanity. Maybe it is time the galaxy learned what that word really means. The communication channel fell silent for several long minutes. Jake could almost feel millions of alien minds across the galaxy, considering Veltar's words. Finally, Supreme Commander Thexrel spoke again, but his voice had changed. The harsh military tone was gone, replaced by something that might have been wonder. The Council will vote again. All testimony will be considered. He paused, then added something that surprised everyone. Captain Morrison, regardless of the Council's decision, know that what you did here has already changed the galaxy. For the first time in our history, we have seen a Deathworld species choose love over fear. The vote, when it came 6 hours later, was not even close. Instead of containment, the Galactic Cooperative voted to invite humanity to join as full members. More than that, they requested human assistance in establishing new protocols for interstellar rescue and emergency response. Jake stood on the bridge of the horizon, looking out at the dozens of alien ships that had come to witness humanity's judgment. Now they were staying to celebrate humanity's acceptance. Captain, Lisa called from her station. I'm receiving a message from Earth Command. Admiral Gray wants to know how we went from first contact to full galactic membership in less than a week. Jake smiled as he watched Veltar and the other aliens working alongside his crew, already planning joint missions to help other species in need. Tell the Admiral that we answered a distress call and accidentally taught the galaxy about compassion. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. Through the viewing window, Jake could see the stars that no longer seemed cold and empty. They were filled with friends, with species ready to help each other, with a galaxy that had remembered how to care. Humanity had joined the stars not through conquest or superior technology, but through the simple act of helping those in need. And for the first time in galactic history, the universe felt like home.